Up, we have Ania Bulis. She's today representing the Moonlight Community Foundation. Ania's been a fabric of this community for over 26 years, and in addition to being one of the leading real estate brokers, she has a passion for a lot of amazing community projects and shows this in a lot of different ways, but right now is here representing the great work that Moonlight Community Foundation is doing. So Ania, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for doing this, for always doing everything you guys do for the community. It's really impressive what you guys have put together, not just in these town halls, but in general, as you know.
Well, thank you for saying that. I guess jumping right into it, for those in the audience that might not be familiar with Moonlight Community Foundation, maybe give us a high level of what the foundation is and does and is currently involved with.
Sure. So just like the other community foundations, YCCF and Spanish Peaks Community Foundation, Moonlight has their own community as well. And after our strategic planning session last August, we really wanted to dive into 3 areas specifically. We've always been passionate about conservation. Moonlight has a foothold in that arena in Big Sky, but just really has been listening to the land and has been dedicated to stewarding that path. On another note, we've always been heavily involved in children's programming in general with the schools. Sustainability has been another initiative that we've been focusing on. And like all the other community foundations in Big Sky, mental health keeps climbing to the top of that list. And that was certainly one of the outcomes of our strategic session last fall.
So jumping into that, mental health was brought up a lot in the last couple of weeks, especially since this shutdown, and has become one of, I know, the hot topics, not only on a nationwide basis, but especially in a ski town. So what updates can you give us regarding, progress being made on the mental health front in Big Sky and projects that you guys are involved with?
Yeah, so we had been having a lot of conversations around mental health, starting really more seriously in the fall when we met with Buzz Davis, who, for those of you listening who don't know Buzz, he put together a phenomenal report that took him a year to collect data on Big Sky, on all types of behavioral health, from depression to substance abuse to suicide, really the wide breadth. And so in meeting with him repeatedly and then with other community members, we were already going down the path of how do we tackle this enormous problem that exists in every community, but especially is prevalent in ski towns. And then COVID-19 happened. And so the unprecedented scenario in which we found ourselves was one in which we felt like we needed to act really swiftly. And it was really with the help of so many different efforts, so many different individuals. And, Bozeman Health stepped up, Women in Action has stepped up, and they've been consistent in terms of providing counseling in the area. BSCO, the hours that those individuals have put into this effort is incredible. And then just community members at large all came together to provide as many resources as could be made possible in as quick and short a time as possible.
That's great. Can you give us some specifics on a couple of the programs that have been rolled out?
Sure. Probably, I would say there's 3 critical ones. One is there's a 211 number. So for non-emergency issues, if you're feeling like you just need somebody to talk to, and you are feeling anxiety, you're feeling depressed, you should call 211. That is a 24-hour hotline put out by the Help Center, and they will put you in touch with the correct entity. So that is a great number for all of us to remember and put out into the community. Additionally, and that is free. So these are free services that I'm talking about now. Additionally, Women in Action has hired a new counselor. Also, all of her hours will be free, at least for the next month, if not moving forward from there. Thirdly, we are doing some virtual meetings. So as many of us know, when you go into social distancing, one of the first things that happens is you can feel emotionally lost and disconnected. And so what we're trying to do is provide avenues of connection for children, for adolescents, for parents, for senior citizens in the area. So there's a vehicle out there that's now going to be programmed, if you will, with various hours of the day to allow people to go in and have a virtual book club or a painting class or a dance class or a cooking class, different avenues for people to just connect with one another.
Excellent. Since you touched on it a little bit, and I know the representatives aren't here that run it day to day, but maybe give a little bit of insight to Women in Action and that group. They do such phenomenal work, and I think sometimes are kind of unsung heroes in this town.
Yeah, I mean, it was really like a little bit of a grassroots effort long ago, and now they are an organization in Big Sky that people can go to get free or discounted mental health counseling. And one of the things that we've known as citizens here is that often their counselors are booked. And one of the things that I believe Buzz's reports showed was that there was a 9-month waiting list for the counselors that they currently had. And so it is that constant attempt, by them to get more and more counselors into the area. I think we're going to see some shifts in general. We have not done a lot of telehealth in Big Sky, but again, because of the COVID-19 and because of the social disciplining or distancing, because of the social distancing that's in effect, we're going to see more telehealth, and that could actually open up more opportunities for people to get the kind of guidance they need.
Excellent. Well, they do great work. Before I hand it over to Joe to see if there's any follow-up questions, I guess, if people want to get involved in support, Ania, what are ways that people can get involved?
So there's a lot of different initiatives out there right now. In terms of supporting mental health in general, you can donate to, right now, 4 organizations and specify mental health. So if you're part of one of the community foundations, it's really easy to go on any of their website, donate to them, and just simply specify that you'd like to have that donation provided directly towards mental health services in Big Sky. Another option is obviously donating through Women in Action. I think ultimately the goal is for all of us to put together a collective behavioral health platform in Big Sky. And if anything, if there's a silver lining in all of this, is that it's really put it at the forefront. And so hopefully that planning will be expedited. But that will include Bozeman Health, it will include Women in Action, it will likely include BSCO. From a financial front, that's one way to help. I would say there's probably 2 other easy ways to help. BSCO has a fabulous list of volunteers. There's a lot of people out there who could use help with grocery deliveries or mail deliveries, or even just a phone call or a FaceTime call will make their day. And so BSCO is taking names of volunteers who are willing to do that and pairing them with others who may be in need of those services. And then lastly, I think I mentioned the virtual gatherings that we're going to be having. If you have something to offer, I mean, it could be a knitting class and there might only be 5 people that are interested, but you're providing something real for those 5 people during a time where they might not have much to look forward to. So that's another option. And that is also being scheduled through BSCO.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you for that. Joe, anything from your end?
Sure thing. Ania, thanks so much for talking with us today. You mentioned that Moonlight Community Foundation is working on children's programming in the community. With distance learning being the new norm for kids right now, what are some of the issues you all are seeing in our youth, and what steps are being taken to mitigate some of these concerns?
So we have in the past done a lot of funding for youth programming, either by, anything from funding Art Splot in the schools to library initiatives. Currently, we have not yet been approached for any of that programming, but it sits heavily actually on my heart because we're asking our children to social distance, right? So I'm watching my kids not play with other kids for 3, 4, 5, who knows how many weeks moving forward, and what kind of emotional impacts is that going to have on them? I don't know. This is not my area of specialty. Mm-hmm. I will say that right off the bat. And I would put the question out to anybody who's listening is, if there are ways that we can be supportive and more and supporting in programming, please let us know.
Definitely. Thanks for that. One final follow-up. You mentioned Buzz Davis and his recently released findings from his year-long study of mental health needs in Big Sky. And you talked about a shortage of counselors in the area. What were some of the main issues Buzz and other entities have identified in Big Sky? And what efforts are being put into place to collaborate with him and other groups on those findings?
Well, it's a really detailed report. And so, but I would say some of the bigger things that stood out to me was the percentage of individuals, at least that were polled, that showed signs of not just exhibited signs, but raised their hands and said, I actually have depression. It was, I don't want to misquote, but I think it was 36%, which seems like a very high number in a community, in any community. The other thing that showed in the report was that there were very few counselors per capita. When you looked at other resort towns, we had a very distinct shortage of counselors in the area. And Big Sky is tough because a lot of the counselors that you're getting are coming from Bozeman. There aren't many, if any, really living in Big Sky. I do know that we have a new counselor in Big Sky who is getting her Montana license, so she'll start practicing in Big Sky hopefully in this next year or so. But I think that's been a real shortage, and so how to address that, how to create really easy navigation tools. He made a comment that always stuck with me from the beginning. He said, we need somebody that's like an air traffic controller, right? And that air traffic controller, when somebody calls and says, I have a substance abuse problem, I have a mental health problem, I'm depressed, I'm suicidal, I have an eating disorder, that one traffic controller can actually point that person in the right direction. And, in everything that I've heard from him and read, that would be the most important thing I think Big Sky could use moving into the future. And then coordinating amongst all the entities that exist to facilitate.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Well, look, thanks for that. Ania, I think, and a lot of people, organizations have confirmed this, that, as we move past, these initial stages of this pandemic, mental health is going to be something that could be a significantly longer lasting issue. So the work you guys are doing, Buzz is doing, so important. So thanks for taking the time. Thanks for doing the work.
Thanks, Joe.